Your daughter here. How the heck you doing this fine day? And welcome to Gray Matters, the podcast for baby boomers and Gen Xers helping us survive in this digital age. We've got a great show lined up today. It's taking on a topic which to me is increasingly important. It's increasingly important. Vivica is going to be interviewing a woman named Neeli Clute, who is, she deals with our brains. She deals especially with our aging brains and broken brain syndrome and all of the different things that are happening to us as we get older upstairs. I don't know about you, but as I've gotten older, and I'm 66 now, I have, obviously, other different physical conditions have come on. I had heart bypass surgery a couple of years ago, but all of the different things that we face physically, nothing scares me as much as the thought of losing myself, is the specter of dementia or Alzheimer's. And consequently, I used to be a hypochondriac. Every time I felt an ache or pain, I thought, oh, I have cancer, I've got this, I've got that. We all go through that. We all have that hypochondriac mentality. But increasingly, it's, I can't remember a name. I can't remember why I walked into a room. It's the mental things, and I'm really, I just constantly obsess. Well, I wouldn't say obsess, but it's constantly in the back of my mind, just how healthy the melon is, the gray matters is. And so this topic today, to me, is one of my favorite interviews that we've done on Gray Matters. It's a great conversation with Neeli, and a topic I'm sure many of us don't necessarily want to talk about, but we're always thinking about. So let's dive into broken brain syndrome with Neeli Clute.
Hey everyone, I want to introduce you to my friend Neeli. Like, she's so smart. She's a neuro leadership speaker and brain health ambassador who helps high-performing professionals optimize their mental bandwidth through neuroscience-based strategies. But she's also super understandable, and so keep listening. Keep listening. She is not going to bore you. She's freaking amazing. As the founder of Agile Intellect, she guides clients in designing sustainable systems that enhance cognitive performance while preventing mental decline. The girl, the woman, the brilliant person has advanced degrees from Johns Hopkins, University of Maryland College, UNC Chapel Hill. I mean, she's so smart. And she bridges that cutting edge neuroscience with practical application, which is what you want to hear about today. Like, neuroscience is cool and all, but how can I apply this to my life? She combines 8 vital components of mental performance with neuroscience of habit formation, which we'll talk about, human motivation, which we'll talk about, and emotional intelligence, which of course we will talk about as well. She's also, really, for those of you in the crowd listening to us right now who are digital nomads, she literally was in Italy a few weeks ago. Then she came back home to Colorado for a week, and now she's in Hawaii, and then she's off to Australia, and then it's back to Colorado, and then who knows where. So she can also definitely tell you how to be successful as a digital nomad, which maybe we'll talk about, maybe we won't. Anyway, welcome to Gray Matters, Neeli.
It is my pleasure, Vivica. I always enjoy conversations with you. It's so enlightening every time.
Well, I love this woman. We met, I think, at one of Cami Gildner's events, I think online, actually. And Cami's been on this show too. And we were back in the, private messaging because you've got such a strong aeronautics background, or aviation rather, background with your dad, as did I. And so we immediately connected that way. And then we were just like, oh my gosh, so much to talk about.
Talk about resonance, right? I mean, there's just certain people that you automatically click with. And I love that energy and that spirit that so many of the people that are surrounding you, and you are definitely a bright light right in the middle of that too.
Well, thank you so much, Neeli. And yeah, let's talk about one of the things you talk about a lot is broken brain syndrome. you've had personal experience as women who are not 35 anymore. We have experience. We were literally in the green room just talking to Steve, and many of you know his recovery after the heart attack he had some challenges with broken brain syndrome. What is it? What does it feel like? Why do we get it?
Broken brain syndrome is just that. Another word for it you might have heard is brain fog, where you just feel like your gears are slowing down, or you're unable to capture a word. It's that mental fog, it's that overwhelm, it's that mental exhaustion where you just feel like you're operating on the cutting edge of fumes. So you just don't have that mental focus and acuity that you're used to having. And honestly, I think our entire world is experiencing that to a certain degree because of COVID. And what research has revealed is that if you had severe COVID, it had the potential to age your brain by 20 years.
What? Are you
Yes.
serious?
And even mild
Oh my
COVID,
gosh.
which most of us have
Yeah.
had, has set us back. And we're also facing an epidemic that's coming of Alzheimer's, where it's supposed to triple by 2050. So we're seeing this in our loved ones. You may be a caregiver, which accelerates that problem often because you are not taking care of your own mental wellness. And we're also in an environment that is changing so rapidly that our mind is struggling to keep up with that rapid change, that exponential change. We learn more in one day now than people used to learn in entire lifetimes in the past.
That's insane.
So we get about 11 billion bits of information thrown at us every day, which is increasing with the technology and the changes in our world. And we can only process 50 at a time. So your brain, 50, So your brain is having to really filter and work really hard just to be in this environment without distraction, without exhaustion. And you do have a limit. We have this infinity mindset that we can do all, be all the time, which is not true. And yet we try to behave that way. The hustle culture is hard because it's not sustainable. And at some point,
you can only have so many, quadruple shot lattes and monster energy drinks and all of that actually, I think, makes things worse.
It does.
It's a short
And our
fix.
young people are even suffering from this. But even especially as women, as you hit menopause, some of the things that helped us, that estrogen that helps your brain to remember verbal recall and other things like that, all of a sudden drops and your hormone levels are kind of going a little bit wonky. And all of a sudden you're like, wait, what just happened? I can't remember where I parked my car. I can't remember why I walked in this room. So these are challenges in the modern world that are not going away, that we have to adapt to as we age and our brain is changing, and we still have all this incredible wisdom, and we have to start taking better care of it because there is a budget. You make 35,000 decisions a day. But once you hit that number, make sure that your brain kind of says, okay, enough. That's all.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter for big or little decisions.
Right. So I just thought, I won't mention who, my husband, but, in the morning, he'll often be doing these video games. Now, they might be brain building video games like Words with Friends or solitaire, or, he's doing some poker thing now. But those are decisions. That's actually probably negatively affecting him.
It's possible. It depends on everything he's doing. You do need to shift into different types of mental use, to put it lightly.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you need cognitive rhythm to be happening. So you do want to have focus. And sometimes we allow ourselves to be so distracted by
Mm-hmm.
notifications, by not sitting still and just sticking to something, that we're
Yeah.
really eroding our focus. Smartphones are guilty of doing that to us. Our email
Right.
notifications are guilty of doing that to us. We're in an environment that is trying desperately to get your attention. And that is the
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
important resource we have. But if you do not allow yourself to have brain breaks, and things like
Hmm.
Duolingo and some of those games actually are
Yeah.
really beneficial. But
Okay. Just not for an hour and a half at a time.
yes, it's budgeting. It's your brain bank account. You got withdrawals, you've got deposits. And if you
Yeah.
run out of your bank, you're kind of
Right.
on fumes there for a while until you start putting more
Yeah.
deposits in it. So a healthy way to approach that is just understanding that you really want to be picky about what you're
Yeah.
doing and where your
Yeah.
attention goes. And not
Yeah.
necessarily allowing ourselves, our brains to be substituted quite as easily. So,
Right.
memory, a lot of times we don't
Yep.
have to remember phone numbers
Yep.
anymore. We don't have to remember certain things. So, we're not
Yeah.
utilizing that function. And it's just like a muscle,
Yeah.
that ability is going to diminish.
Exactly. Exactly. So most of the people listening probably have a at least topical understanding of what we can do to maintain our brain health, get more sleep, drink enough water. I do like this idea of focus and then breaking focus. And I really love your idea of your brain actually being a bank that you need to make deposits into here and there. But what are some, I mean, first of all, not all of us are doing it. Most people probably aren't doing it. What are some ways that we can maintain this body, because it is body and brain budget,
Yeah.
right? That optimizes this mental bandwidth so that we can live optimally when we can't remember freaking words.
Well, I think we have to be consistent about supporting
Mhm.
it in lots of different
Okay.
ways. So you mentioned one of the number one ways that you can support your brain, which is
Yeah.
making sure that you have 6 to 9 hours of quality sleep.
Oh, wow. 9.
Some people need 12. It's variable
Wow.
depending on the person. It's like that bell curve we talk
Interesting.
about. Some
Yeah.
people don't need 6, some people need maybe
Yeah.
5, but it's very, very
Yeah.
rare that you can get beneath 6 without damage. There's not a single system in your body
Wow.
that isn't negatively impacted by not getting enough good quality
Yeah.
sleep. So if you're taking
Wow.
sleep aids to get that extra
Mhm.
because you can't sleep, you're actually
Mhm.
taking deep and REM sleep away from yourself.
Oh, interesting. So sleep aids being like
Could be
sleep
anything
aids
from
being like
alcohol,
magnesium
not
or like
necessarily
sleeping pills?
magnesium. You do have to be careful
Okay.
with supplements with melatonin and magnesium.
Yeah.
Those can be helpful
Mhm.
if your levels are off. But you
Okay.
have to be careful about dosing because if you are
Yeah.
taking too much melatonin, you're going to end up groggy and drowsy, and it's counterproductive
Right.
because really
Right.
your body should be doing that job, and you can help
Yeah.
prompt it with
Yeah.
nutrition and with
Mhm.
timing, with light dimming in the evenings
Mhm.
because
Yes.
that will
Yeah.
cause you to produce melanin and so on. But if you do not get enough deep and REM sleep, deep and REM is where all your creativity, your emotional
Yeah.
regulation, where all of the garbage from the toxic waste that builds up from all of the chemical reactions happening in your mind is taken out. So if you're
Wow.
taking pills for sleep, it's generally a sedative. Alcohol can be a sedative too.
Mhm.
And when it's a sedative, you're really not getting the deep and REM sleep. And you might end up with some pretty crazy dreams too, because your brain's trying to make up for the lost REM cycles. So towards the end, when the alcohol clears, has that ever happened to you? Where
Yeah.
whack for
For me,
dreams?
it's sugar, like alcohol, but if I do too much sugar, my dreams are wacky, like intense and wacky.
Yeah. So that may be
Interesting.
interfering with your deep and REM until it clears from your body. And then you're getting a backlog of crazy dreams right at the end of the night.
Well, and I heard, and I don't know that this is true, or it's probably true. I can't remember where I heard it because, I'm over 50. But in deep sleep, your brain shrinks something like 20 or 30%, and then fluids come through and literally wash the badness away, and then the brain expands again. But if you don't have enough deep sleep, or if you're not hydrated enough, that doesn't happen. And now you've got all of this buildup and plaque and badness in your brain.
Yeah.
Is that
You've
is
got a
that
toxic
true?
waste dump on your shoulders.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's pollution.
I mean, when you think about a brain shrinking.
Yeah, the glial cells are what come through, and they're the garbage collectors,
Okay.
and they do a really good job of that. But you are right. You do need enough water, but you don't want to chug right before you go to bed either, because then you're visiting the little
No, because
girl's
then you're going to
room
be up peeing at 3 a.m. Yeah.
often. So it's strategic. You want to really
Yeah.
drink a lot first thing in the morning. In fact, I have my water bottle with me most places, right next to me and filled for first morning, that first refresh.
Yep.
And if you're feeling cognitively exhausted, you often are dehydrated, because that will,
Dehydrated.
So just
And that's
feeling,
where doing these energy drinks is killing you, because they're dehydrating you even more.
well, caffeine can be a brain booster, but you have to be strategic on the timing
Right.
of when you utilize it and when you stop. So the 3210 is a quick, easy way to remember some of the best sleep habits. So 3 hours before going to bed is you want to stop imbibing alcohol or a lot of food.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
2 hours before you want to stop doing any kind of work that related items. 1 hour before, no screens. And of course, you're dimming the lights. And then 0 means don't hit the sleep button in the morning.
Yeah.
So you have something that's called sleep inertia when you first wake up, where you feel like, oh, I'm so tired. I don't want to get up. I need a few more minutes.
Right.
It's not. It's a lie. It's called sleep.
Really? Okay. Talk more about that, because I am not a
person.
No, I am a morning person now, which my mom would laugh at if she was still alive, because I didn't ever used to be. I'm a super morning person now.
Right.
And I never hit the snooze button. But there are times when I wake up and I check my Aura app, and I know I got good sleep because my ring told me so. But I just, like you said, I feel that inertia. So that's not unusual.
No. That happens sometimes. It's really, and as soon as you just go ahead and get up anyway, put your feet on the floor and start your routine, it generally it goes away pretty quickly. The worst thing you can do is go back and get a partial sleep cycle. And then get woken up in the middle of REM. And that's really disruptive and can make you feel groggy. So if you're taking naps can be great strategies, but you have to watch the timing. So you want to coordinate with the sleep cycles, to where if you missed a REM cycle the day before for traveling or whatever reason, you can do a 90-minute nap, and that'll get one full sleep cycle all the way through. Or if you just need a mental break, which is more of a brain break, it can be as little as 5 to 10 minutes, or no more than 25 to 30. Because then you're risking getting into the deep and REM sleep areas.
That's interesting, because definitely when I was younger, I did not like napping. I always woke up feeling groggier. It is not so much the case anymore. So that has shifted for me.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Well, and not everybody, you have to work with this beautiful, unique person that you are and figure out what works for you. Because you have a distinct cognitive architecture that's all yours. It's a combination of your IQ and your EQ. And I call it MeQ.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about Agile and what you do. And if you have any more very helpful tips like the 3-2-1 that you want to share with us, or, let us talk a little bit more about this balance between body and brain and alleviating broken brain syndrome.
Yeah.
It almost has to be a syndrome, doesn't it?
Right. Well, and it is. And I think we, especially for high achievers, we tend to have a superhero syndrome where we feel like we can just charge in and take it out. And superheroes hit the brick wall every now and then and go splat. And unfortunately, sometimes it takes that wake up call, but you're fighting this expectation because your brain is a prediction machine, how you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to behave. And it's this cultural immersion that you're so used to doing. And that can be very hard to break free from. So I think just understanding that you do have limits and that your time is incredibly valuable and that you need to utilize and be very strategic with how you use your energy, how you use your time. And just kind of start from where you are. You usually have a cognitive wellness check that is very 2-minute little assessment that you can do. And that gives you an idea of where to start from. And then slowly, because habits are built with slow transformation, the ones that stick happen slowly in the time, and then adding to that. And
so micro habits
that are sustainable.
Yeah.
And generally what I've been doing is talks to corporate organizations on behalf of a wellness company. And what I found is I really love working with them because they're usually international, they're usually remote. And so they're dealing with a whole different set of circumstances, which varies depending on your work environment. But I also found that sometimes I only get to see them for an hour, and then I don't get to follow through with the process that is beautiful if you can set it up such that it really gets you into a place of balance and growth and sustainability. So that's why I've started creating that 12-week program where you can slowly, with your busy schedule, even with the optimal, that's one thing I love about what I do too. I've been able to take brain science, but also education practices and merge the two. So how are ways we can learn how to do things that work, that stick, and that make a difference in the long haul? So the optimal amount of time that you would use in different ways per week, and it's really not that much. It ends up being between 2 to 4 hours a week to really change how you're approaching your mental bandwidth. And you get that time back tenfold if you do it right. So it's worthwhile.
So I probably spend 2 to 4 hours a week trying to remember a word. So I could see how that would work. I love that. And that's going to be available. When do we know?
My goal is definitely by October. I know that's going into the holidays. To be announced, but
it's a good time.
Yeah. I also do individual work with people to get them started with where are you right now? And just have a conversation. It's not a sales pitch. It's just a conversation because my goal is to create brain health ambassadors that are taking care of themselves and their families as well. And kind of shifting this culture of use and abuse, slash and burn.
Yeah, everyone, you need to follow Neeli on LinkedIn because she's got just such great information that she shares. Plus, you'll then be available, or you'll see when her 12-week program is going to be available. So make sure you connect with Neeli on LinkedIn. Let her know that you heard her on this show. I had a thought that came up because I started this talking about being digital natives because you are one.
Yes.
And I heard this interesting, again, maybe you told me, I don't remember, but someone told me that, this whole idea of changing time zones is only about 100 years old, which is not a very long time in the evolutionary cycle for those of us who believe in evolution. And so, because most people were born in one place and lived there and never left the time zone. And
That's
of
right.
course, look at you, you're skipping 4 or 5.5 hours every other week. And so, couple questions for you. How do you deal with that? Like being in different time zones and different cultures, as awesome as it is, I love traveling. It is a stressor. So, are there practices that you can bring with you as a digital native or just someone who likes to travel a lot? I guess that's the only question.
Okay. Well, both of us being from aviation backgrounds, I know my father and my uncle all used to struggle with that because they were going, my uncle especially was going to very different time zones constantly. And I asked him one day how he dealt with it. And he's like, I just try to stay on my home time zone whenever possible, which I think is
Okay.
helpful. I think when we try to abruptly change from one to the other is when it really is hard. So making sure you're,
I've been doing just the opposite.
yeah,
I've been trying to get into the time zone I was in, and my husband says all the time, "Dan, stop doing time zone math. It's 4 o'clock in Italy right now. That's what time it is." But it's actually the opposite.
exactly. And if you're going to be somewhere for a long period of time, I think you have to take it into context of what your travel looks like. If you're going to be shifting
Yeah.
to somewhere that's 8 hours different and going to
Yeah.
be there for a whole month, then you kind of need to
Yeah.
approach it a little bit differently. But you don't have to
Right.
be really abrupt about it. You can
Yeah.
make sure that those first couple of days you're not hitting the ground running unless you're going right back, and then it's fine.
Right, right. Unless you have to see all the things in Italy this week.
Yeah, not the best idea. So if you do want to make that change, you of course allow that first 24 hours to 48 hours for extra rest. Do not put demands on yourself. Do not schedule meetings. Give yourself a buffer to just rehydrate because airplanes are terrible about dehydrating you.
Yes.
So
And they won't even give you water anymore if it's a Frontier.
I know, unless they charge you $10 for the bottle.
Yeah.
And then I also recommend getting outside in the morning and getting the sunlight on your skin. So you're readjusting slowly your circadian rhythm is what you're doing. So giving it those natural cues, being careful about
Yeah.
artificial lighting in places when, as you're shifting, making sure that you're dimming the lights and not keeping them on when it's really late, unless that's a
Yeah.
strategic help for
Right, because you're trying to stay in your own time
Right.
zone. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I mean
That's really
there's a little bit of an art to it depending on how long you're going to be gone. But I think
Yeah.
hydration and rest that first 24 to 48 hours where you give yourself that buffer and then you can kind of shift gears is the two most effective ways. And getting outside and letting your
Yeah.
body see the sun. And if you're in Hawaii, the
Nice.
roosters help. Not.
Yeah, indeed they do. Or the howler monkeys in Costa Rica. I know, I think I woke up this morning going, "It's so quiet." There's no howler monkeys, there's no birds.
Yep. I know everybody
There's
thinks
just
that
my
the
dog going,
jungle or
"Woof,
the
woof,
island
woof."
is going to be all peace and quiet. Nope.
Oh. Oh, no.
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 There's cookie
The
frogs
jungle is
and
loud.
yep,
Jungle is
absolutely.
I always love speaking with you, Neeli. Is there anything more you want to share with anyone as we wrap up?
I think you need to give yourself grace and understand that we are in an environment that's highly stressful and you've got to protect your mind and your body. from a lot of the chaos that's going around. And understand that if you miss a day of exercise, it's okay. You just have to give yourself a big hug and don't miss more than 2 or 3, right?
Yeah.
But just get back on that bandwagon. I think we're so critical of ourselves. And if
Yeah, for
we
sure.
can just find a group of people that are our tribe that can
Hmm.
work with you through some of these healthy lifestyle choices, because
Yeah.
one big thing from Blue Zone research I came across in Italy
Yes.
is
Yes.
that it's almost impossible for an individual to do it, to make big changes for lifestyle alone.
Yeah.
So,
It's so interesting and I know you've been traveling around to the different blue zones. It's so interesting to me. Everyone always focuses on the food, right? But you just brought it's the community. It's the community and it's staying youthful and it's staying active and it's keeping your mind engaged. That is equally, if not more important than the food you eat at the different blue
yep,
zones.
that's one of the 8, and food is one of them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
there
for
are
sure.
8
Yeah.
factors. And if you, that's the funny thing about habits, is if you make it too hard for yourself, you're going to quit.
That's right.
But there
That's
are
right.
8 components that you kind of need to pay attention to. A lot of people are like, well, I'm exercising, I'm eating right, I'm sleeping, I'm
Yeah.
still not feeling good, I'm still foggy.
Yeah.
What's going on here? There's more
Yeah.
to it.
Can now I'm putting you on the spot, and I told you you were done, but you're not. What are the 8? So we've got food, exercise, sleep,
Okay. Well,
hydration.
I'm to make it easy to remember, I
Yeah.
made an acronym for it called Fit Brain.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, there we
I
go.
love
So now
that.
you can just tuck that away, and you can even use a
Yes.
sticky note. This is one super easy thing I do is just put Fit Brain on it in a column,
Yeah.
and then I rank
Yeah.
myself 0 to 10 on each of the
Yeah. Mhm.
components, and I stick it where I can see it. And once a week, I'm like, okay, where am I at in these different
Love that.
arenas? Where do I want to focus on this week? Or,
Yeah.
I'm doing really
Yeah.
well in 3 of the 8. Then what's the next thing? And then work on that for a little while, and then you can shift to the next
Mhm.
thing. So, Fit Brain is focus, because that is the
Oh,
hidden goal of success. And your brain needs
interesting.
focused, goal oriented work. Part of the
Wow.
reason we're
Yeah.
struggling with focus is that we're not allowing ourselves focus in a way that is really functional and works well for us. We're sabotaging
That's
it.
so true.
So there's a lot of teaching around how to do that so that you can really increase your focus. So that's the first one. I is
Right.
for interact. That's the community. So the
Mhm. Mhm.
interaction, that's really incredibly important. And we have,
And that's COVID just screwed us up right there,
yeah, yes. And that
right?
that was the biggest damage that happened to children, is that they were
Yeah.
kept from
Yeah.
their schools and friends, and they're still really struggling from that.
My grandbabies are
Yeah.
struggling because of that. Yeah.
Yeah. T is for think, and that's metacognition, thinking about thinking. Is kind
Mhm.
of, why am I thinking the way I am? Why am I behaving the way I
Yeah.
am? It's really
Yeah.
finding out what's driving you. That's, that they talk about icebergs often, where you only
Yes.
see a small percentage of what's really going on
Right.
in your conscious realm, and a lot of it's in the unconscious realm.
Amazing.
So there's usually, if you think about it, you can get down to why you're doing what you're doing if it's not serving you. So that's a
Mhm.
really important one.
Mhm.
B is
Amazing.
for budget. So there we're talking
Mm.
brain and body budget in terms of making
Yeah.
sure that you're putting enough deposits and not too many withdrawals. So finding that balance
Right.
for that brain bank, because you want a big fluffy brain when you retire.
Yes,
So
indeed.
in beautiful shape, because they did a study on nuns where
Mhm.
they had incredible lifestyles where they were gardening and doing all the things that are helpful for brain health. When they
Mhm.
passed away and did
Mhm.
an autopsy, they found signs of Alzheimer's in them, but they had no behaviors associated
Oh,
with dementia, even still.
Wow, that's crazy.
Right? So
they had the physiology of it, but they didn't have the cognitive.
yeah, they didn't have the behavioral aspects.
Behavioral. Wow,
Right.
that's crazy.
So,
Wow.
and then we have rejuvenation for R, which is rest and brain breaks, making sure that you're taking enough breaks that you can get into that cognitive rhythm. Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to focus. So and it's something we don't understand that's happening under the surface again, where there's all sorts of processing and problem solving happening. That's why we get epiphanies in the shower and when we're on a walk or when you're exercising. That's that downtime that allows your brain to chew on the information that you learned or were dealing with during focus time and do something with it. Find the answers. So that part's really important too. Active exercise is the A. If you take a 20-minute walk, your brain will be in much better focus for up to 2 hours after that. And
wow.
So you can see it's crazy. It's like a Christmas tree that lights up on an MRI.
Yeah.
When you do the before and the after of 20 minutes of sitting versus 20 minutes of a walk. It's just
wow. Okay, Cal, we're going on a okay, buddy.
The dogs love that, right? And then I's for intelligence. That's where you're building your knowledge base, you're building your skill sets, you are staying curious about the world, you're pushing that envelope. And then N is nourish, and that's water, hydration, and nutrition. So,
and nutrition.
Yeah. A lot of them you know.
Cheers.
But I got secret ideas of how to help you stick to it. So it's not overwhelming you more than you already are, because that's not helpful.
Yeah, we have enough overwhelming us right now. So to be able to do it in a micro habit type of way is very powerful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being on today's show.
My dear.
Yay, yes. Take care of the brain. I think we need to have you back on after you launch, so we'll set that one up. But it was so good to see you in Hawaii.
Aloha.
Aloha indeed. Mahalo.
Mahalo.
That's awesome. And again, where can people find you?
You can find me on my website, and if you go to the contact form on neeliclute.com or agileintellect.neuro.com, you can go to the contact form and sign up, and you will get the blogs, the weekly blogs sent to you that has great tips on micro tips and micro habits and mindset and all sorts of things that will really help you be successful in this journey. And just to build the community. I'm trying to build a community that has these ideas in mind, that support each other in successful minds in the future, because we are facing an awful lot. We need to support each other. Yeah. So come find me. I'd love a conversation. You can book a call on there too, and just to have a chat.
That's amazing.
I'll bring my Hawaiian coffee, but
that's awesome. Thank you so much. It's so great to have you on today's call.
Thanks for having me. That's lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everyone. Until we see you next week. Mahalo.
Aloha.
Aloha. Pura vida.
That's true.
Bye, everyone.